Welcome to Prepared Enough, a podcast for moms who want to lighten the mental load of motherhood and create homes where kids can thrive. I'm your host, Natasha Mila, former teacher, mom of four, and firm believer that a well-prepared home can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. During each episode, we'll explore simple ways to design organized, intentional spaces and rhythms that build your child's responsibility and bring more ease into your day. So if you're ready to create a home that works with you and not against you, you're in the right place. Hit follow and let's get started. Hello. We are nearing the end of August. So if you are not already in school, we are not. We start in like a week and a half. You are probably either already starting or you are gearing up to start real soon. So fun stuff. We are in full back to school mode, right? So 2 weeks ago, we kind of talked about the school drop zone. And now this week, we are going to talk about the school morning grab zone. I don't know. I just came up with that wording. Mostly, just because it kind of went with school drop zone. I don't know. I just prefer to call my area the back entryway. And it kind of has like all the things we need in one space, right? Now, okay. The first few weeks of school are lenient. It gives the child, the parent, time to figure things out and adjust their systems and routines and get on track. Teachers are flexible, schools are flexible, teachers are figuring things out. So many of the kids are adjusting. There's just a lot of room for error and everything's all good and flexible. But once those first few weeks are over, the flexibility is not there as much anymore, and your child is the one that feels the consequence when we are ill-prepared. So it is your child who feels the consequence when they arrive at school and they've forgotten something, or they arrive at school a little bit late and they're feeling all frazzled. So we are here today to help our children feel ready walking in the doors of their school building. And so a big part of that is our morning, getting out of the door in the morning, right? So 2 weeks ago, we kind of talked about being prepared for coming home from school. And honestly, a lot of the questions and spaces to prepare in your home are quite related to this episode. So if you have not listened to that one, I think it would be really beneficial to go back and listen to that one first. I won't usually say go back and listen to all these other episodes first. No, I'm not gonna do that regularly. But I do really think that for this case, I'm not gonna repeat myself. So we're gonna kind of go a different direction in this podcast episode. So I'm not gonna repeat what I said the last time, and it is all quite related, because we're all kind of talking about the drop zone area, like the back entryway, and like we're exiting our house in that same area, and we kind of need some things prepared there. So go back and take a listen to that if you have not already. All right, so moving on. A successful getting out the door in the morning routine is going to involve some preparation the night before, and it's going to involve also a well-designed morning plan and routine. This is going to include things like packing backpacks, selecting outfits, and like making sure all of the items that you need are gathered in the same space, or at least kind of that we know where they are and that they're organized so that we can get it all in the morning gathered quite easily. Now, there are a lot of things to consider here. So for the sake of time, I'm just going to kind of touch on 3 questions or 3 things you might consider focusing on thinking through so that you can figure out what works for your home. So I'm not going to give you like here's exactly the morning routine you need to follow and here's exactly all the items that you need, because it really is going to depend on what your family's kind of capable of doing the night before, or what works best for you, like what time your kids start at school. Like if they start super early in the morning, you're probably going to do more the night before. If they start super late and you get home late from activities, then you might do more in the morning. So it really is just going to depend on your lifestyle and the ages of your kids and how much they're helping and how much you're doing and whatnot. So we're going to structure this podcast episode by just kind of getting you to be in the right mindset and kind of thinking through the right kind of topics so that your mental space and like your physical spaces can kind of be prepared for getting out the door. So the first question I want you to kind of like ponder through is, what can you do the night before to make the morning easier? I always, like, I know that I'm not the person that invented this wording, but I like to say my tomorrow self will thank me, right? I'm sure you've heard that before. So what can you do the night before so that your tomorrow self thanks you? So you can, for example, you might consider packing your lunches and your snacks the night before. So if you're going to have your kids help for this, you're probably going to need a good system for them to understand like what to pack, where to put the lunchbox so that it's easy to grab in the morning and all the things, and like that they're taking healthy foods and not just like grabbing something out of the cabinet, whatever. Okay, so you're going to have a system around that, but I'm not going to get into that today. That's not part of this episode. So something you might consider packing the night before is your lunches and your snacks. You might consider filling up your waters the night before and putting those water bottles just straight into the backpacks right away so that those are just ready to go. As long as you have like a school specific water bottle and you're not trying to use your water bottle for breakfast that morning, that's probably not a terrible idea. It's a really easy one to do the night before. And I just feel like if you can check off a bunch of like easy little things the night before, it makes your morning so much better, because it might sound like a silly little thing like, oh, a water takes 2 seconds to fill up, but it's just another thing to remember in the mornings. And I just feel like the less you can do in the mornings, the better the whole day goes. Okay, so packing lunches and snacks, filling up water bottles. Maybe you might consider checking folders and stuff the night before, like right when they get home from school or whatever, so that that's just like they're emptied, the folders are emptied, and anything that needs to be signed is placed back inside. Folders are like ready for the kids to grab, or they're maybe even already in their backpacks. Like maybe you put it right back into their backpack, whatever your system might be. Just maybe that's something to consider, is taking care of the folders the night before. And a really easy one, and that's really, really beneficial, is to have your clothes set out the night before. I do this personally for myself. Like I go put my clothes in the bathroom the night before, so that I know that's what I'm wearing the next day. I don't like to make decisions in the mornings. I want to have everything ready to go, and I'm just there to put it all on and start the day. So yeah, lunches, snacks, waters, folders, clothes. Those are some things that you might consider doing the night before. Or, even if your kids are in like after school sports or something, can they pack up their sports bag the night before as well? Okay, the next question to kind of think through. So we had, what can we do the night before to make our tomorrow selves a little bit happier and our mornings a little bit smoother? The other next question is, think if this might not work for you, but it might, would creating some kind of morning checklist be beneficial? And I'm talking about like a physical checklist, like a literal piece of paper on your refrigerator, or like somewhere near your school drop zone and where you're exiting your house. Some kind of physical checklist that your kids can literally, like it could just be a whiteboard with your writing on it and they're just going to cross things off or whatever. Or, another way you could do this is, I don't know if you have, no, that's really involved. It would involve like having a home laminator. We do, because I used to be a teacher, have like a little laminator, and if you laminate a piece of paper that you printed, you can just like use an expo marker on top of the lamination. Okay, so probably the majority of people don't have that. So moving on, could just be a whiteboard, okay? Could also just be a piece of paper, or you could just like print 50 copies and put it on the clipboard and hang it somewhere, whatever. Can you create some kind of morning checklist? I'm just going to go back. I wonder if putting like packing tape over the top of a printed piece of paper would work with the expo markers. And, you might have to redo it like 4 times throughout the year or something as it gets a little grungy, as they kind of make marks and whatnot on it. But I wonder if it would be a little bit less paper waste if you did that instead of like printing out 120 pieces of paper on a clipboard and whatever. But figure out what works for you. Okay. I'm not judging. If you're printing, I'm not gonna be knocking on your door like you printed the paper, didn't you? So, you figure it out for yourself. Okay. So going back to the question, would creating some kind of morning checklist be beneficial for you? So this could include things like make beds, brush teeth, do hair, get dressed, eat breakfast, clear table space, do your morning chores if they have any, backpacks, like make sure your backpacks are packed. And this could probably, like a big one here is if you're going to put backpacks on your checklist, make sure you put what they need to pack inside of their backpacks. So you're going to want to write things like lunches, waters, snacks, folders, library books, outerwear, whatever they need. And you might want to put, like, I've seen checklists written in a format that asks the child a question. And so it asks them, are you ready for school? And then it gives them the checklist, and then it has all the things that they need to do before they're ready to go out the door. And then, you might consider even putting on the bottom, like, read a book if you have time. And then, like, you've done all the other things at the end. And then here at the end, if you are ready to go, you can read a book if you have time. And then maybe even consider writing the actual time that you want everybody at your back door, everybody at your front door, wherever you go out, wherever a meeting spot is in your house that you're going to leave from. Consider writing like the exact time that you want to exit your house on this checklist. So for us, I don't know what time it was, we tried to exit our house at like 8:11 every day or something like that. 8:10 every day, whatever. And so maybe putting this time on there. So if your kids can like kind of read a digital clock or something, you could have this time written on there and say, like, if it's before that time, go read a book. If it's getting close to that time, put your outerwear stuff on and your shoes on and stand by the meeting spot, So yeah, something to consider is having a morning checklist. We usually do have some sort of morning checklist because I feel like I prefer to have that instead of being the naggy mom every single morning. Like, did you get this? Did you get this? I'd be like, did you check off your checklist? And then I only have to ask the one question, Okay, so the third thought question that we're kind of thinking of, there's kind of two here, and they seem like they're unrelated, but I feel like they are related. So I'm just going to say them both and then I'll explain. So the third thing to consider is, how can you design your space so that things are easy to grab in the morning? And how are your kids going to know what to expect for that full day? So not just the school, but like the whole entire day, like the after school and everything. So I do feel like these are related only in my own brain. It's because as you're kind of exiting the door, you're wanting to know, like, here's all the things we're grabbing and what are we grabbing and why? Why are we grabbing them? And what is like I'm leaving the house. What is the rest of the day looking like for me? Like, what is the trajectory of today? What can I expect as I exit this door and get my day started outside of the house, right? So, some like physical things that you might consider making easy to grab and having all near the same area. Now, this goes back to that school drop zone and having kind of everything dropped off in the same spot that you're going to pick it up from to now to head out the door the next day. So again, going back to that episode, but I'm going to briefly kind of list all the things here. So you might have your backpacks obviously in that area. Now, it is beneficial to, like, for you, if you have a checklist and it's right near this area, and part of that checklist is pack your backpacks. And so packing your backpacks involves having all the items you need inside of the backpack already. So you're going to have the water in there, you're going to have the folder in there, you're going to have the lunchbox in there. And those are things that you can either put on a physical checklist, or perhaps your kids are great and they just remember everything without needing that physical checklist, and it's all fine and dandy, and it's just like becomes part of their routine. That works for you, great. But yeah, having that backpack packed with everything that they need to bring, or having I mean, so for us, like once it becomes winter, they have their backpacks packed, and then they have a little tote additional bag with all of their snow gear and stuff, because it just doesn't fit in the backpack and it gets soggy and all the things. So, having your bags for school, your backpack, your bags, whatever you need to bring back to school in that area so that you can grab it and go. And it should already be packed if you've done your morning routine. So we're talking, this is like the end of the morning routine. We're like leaving the house. What do we need? We need our backpack. We need our shoes in the area. And we need our outerwear gear, whatever we're like wearing, a jacket, sweatshirt, maybe nothing, maybe it's warm by you. So anything that you need to have on and have in your hand to get out the door is going to go in this area. I like to have if I have a physical checklist, I like to have that in this area, because then I can just double check. I've got everything. I'm good to go. We want to have that kind of there for a visual. And this would make the most sense to have it in this space. And then this is where I'm talking about how are the kids going to know what to expect for the day. And I like to kind of call this like our meeting spot for getting out the door. Like, where do you need to be standing before we're actually walking out the door? And so in this meeting spot, we're kind of gearing up our brains for the day, right? And so I like to have in this same area our kid calendar. And so I make a separate calendar for my kids. It does take a little bit of extra time, but it really doesn't take that much time. There's not that much to write on it. I have little kids, right? Maybe one day when my kids are older, we'll all just have one big family calendar. But for now, I just take off of our family calendar the things that only really matter to them and put it on their own calendar, because they do like to know and have an expectation of what that day is going to kind of look like. And I like to put it on an actual physical calendar for them. And so I do like to have that in this area. So we said we're going to have the checklist, the calendar if you have one, and we're going to have what we need for the day, our shoes, our outerwear, what we're going to have on, and what we're going to be bringing. Our backpacks, hopefully they're already packed and ready to go. And our any sports gear, or if you're going to like a grandparent's house after school and you need something for there or whatever. So and any extra bags that are like already packed and ready to get out the door. Now, if you have, that was just something I kind of like briefly mentioned that just right there. But yeah, if you're having again, that would be something to consider packing the night before if you could do that and it doesn't have anything that's like going to spoil or whatever. If you can pack it the night before, any extra bags that are going with your kid, have that just right next to their backpacks so that they know, yep, these are also bags that need to be with me for that day. And now we kind of talked about how are your kids going to know what to expect for that full day? And I said I like personally to have a kid calendar now, or if you have older kids, it might be a family calendar. But it doesn't have to be a calendar, and it doesn't have to be anything physical. It could be that you're going to have a conversation and you're just going to have that conversation in the same space every day. So perhaps, probably not the worst idea to have that conversation in that meeting spot before you actually exit your house, so that in case somebody forgot something that they need for the expectations of that day, if they're like, oh, I forgot I was going to this place, I need to grab my whatever. If there's anything that anybody needs, they could go do that and go get that because you're still home, right? So it wouldn't be the worst idea to have the conversation right there in that doorway, right before we walk out the door. Just put your meeting time a little bit earlier so that they know we're having a 2-minute family conversation before we actually walk out this door. Here's where we're going today. We're going to go to school, then you're going here, or we're going to school, we're coming home, we're having dinner, and then we're going to watch a show. We're going to read books. We're going to whatever, having a kind of a plan for the day, and so that your kids kind of know what to expect. Having that conversation is just fine. Calendar's great too, but even if you have the calendar, a conversation is a beneficial thing to do as well. It could be that you have that conversation in the car on the way to school. You have them held captive, so you might as well chit chat, right? That's something that we kind of do. We have the calendar, they kind of look at it, and I also tell them what's going on when we are driving to school. But we drive to school. If you are have your kids getting picked up by the school bus, you might have that conversation on the driveway right before they get on the school bus, while you're waiting, whatever it may be. So those are some things to consider. So, but yeah, so this is just going to be kind of a bit of trial and error. But again, the 3 things to think about and consider are: what can you do the night before to make your mornings easier? Can you make a morning checklist that would help your morning routine? And how can you get things all in the same area-ish so that grabbing and going in the mornings are easier? So included in this is a little bit of how can you make sure that your kids know what to expect for the day. So I want to emphasize the importance of a routine when it comes to mornings. You might have everything where it needs to go, but if you are waking up late and you don't know what's for breakfast or what the scoop for the day is or what sports are after school, you are just going to be rushing around. There is just no doubt about that. If you're frazzled already waking up and you don't have a plan and you don't have a normal routine, you are just going to be frazzled. Like, you're just going to stay frazzled, and then we're going to go to school frazzled, and we're going to just have a chaotic feeling morning. So being prepared with consistent routines is going to be super helpful for getting out of the house for school each morning. So I'm talking morning routines especially, but also they kind of coincide with those nighttime routines and what you're doing to prepare for the day, for the next school day, right? So they both just kind of go hand in hand, because it is, there's just only so much time in the morning to get things together, right? And you don't want to be frazzled, because again, it is your children that really feel the weight of that frazzled feeling when they are trying to get out the door and get to school. And, we're sending them to school to learn, right? We want their brains functioning properly and not in an anxious state. So it is our job. It is our job to help them get to that point. So yeah. Okay. So, just, consider having a regular wake up time, regular school, some things that could be easier, I guess. Here, you know what? Let me just go through a couple things that might make your life a little bit easier if you are searching for a routine and you're just kind of feeling a little bit overwhelmed and lost and you just don't really know what to do. They don't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be something super complicated for a routine here. I'm just talking like, we're going to wake up at the same time every day. And if you have little kids there and, they wake up early, that's fine, whatever. But if they are sleeping and they're, they stayed up a little bit late and they're sleeping in, it doesn't matter. You can't let them sleep in. Like, you got to get up at 7:30. You got to get up at whatever time it may be. Having regular school day breakfasts can help. So every weekday, when it's Monday through Friday, we have the same breakfast. We do eggs, toast, or like a sweet bread if I made like banana bread or something, or toast. Most of the time it's toast though, and eggs and fruit. Toast, eggs, and fruit. That's it. That's every single weekday. That is the breakfast that my kids get. And now the fruit changes. The eggs kind of change. Like, I do sometimes scrambled, sometimes over easy, right? But like, the breakfast is the same. And I don't have to think about it. I just know Monday through Thursday, Monday through Friday. Sometimes my husband doesn't work on Fridays right now, so sometimes he makes breakfast, and he's a good chef, so he makes something delicious on Fridays sometimes. But again, Fridays, a lot of times when he's home and we're trying to get out the door for school, last year that day was always crazier in the mornings, because it is just like a off kind of day, because it's a different routine, right? So having something that's super easy for you to remember is not a bad thing. Just switch it up kind of, but have the same general style for breakfast, and you're gonna probably thank me. Routines that with like things to do, so like, okay, so you wake up at the same time, maybe you eat breakfast right away, you're gonna have the same kind of breakfast every day, generally, same kind of breakfast, and then you're gonna do the exact same things. You're gonna so this might be part of your written checklist, but it also could just be like every single day after breakfast, you are going to brush your teeth, you're going to get dressed, and you're going to do your hair, and you're going to pack your backpacks. Brush teeth, do hair, get dressed, pack backpacks. That's not that many things. So just, do it in the same order every day, right? Routines you might, as an adult, already kind of do this, where you get ready the exact same way every day. Maybe you don't, but I do. I find that like crazy if you are like just doing random stuff in random orders every day. I would never be able to live like that. I'm so orderly. I'm boring apparently. But like I get up, I work out if I wake up early enough, and then I get in the shower at basically the exact same time every day. And I, after the shower, have like the same routine. Like I do my makeup first, and then I do my hair, put deodorant on, and get dressed. Like I do the same order of things every single day in order to get ready for the day, right? So same thing with your kids. Like once they get into the routine of doing it in the same order, they're gonna be a lot more efficient at it, right? So just encouraging them to kind of do those things, like, okay, go brush your teeth now, and you telling them to do it in the same order, right? And you're not just like yelling at them 20 minutes later, like, did you brush your teeth yet? Did you do your hair? Like, what are you doing? You're just sitting there doing nothing. Well, it's probably because they don't have a good routine yet. Like they have to figure that out, but you're there to guide them to do that. And then routines for so you're going to have regular wake up time, you're going to have regular breakfast, you're going to have routines with how to get ready to get out of the house. And then you're going to have a routine for like actually getting out of the house. So you're going to go, your routine might look different than mine, but for us, we are going to the bathroom. I make them go to the bathroom before they leave for school every time. It doesn't matter if they have to go or not, because I just know that it's nicer for the teachers if they have just gone to the restroom. So they're going to go to the bathroom, then they're going to come back to our like meeting spot. They're going to get on their outerwear, like coat, whatever they need, shoes, and they're going to put their backpacks on, and they're going to stand there and wait for me at our back door. So yeah, and it's going to be at the same time every day. Like it's 8:05. It is time to go to the bathroom and start getting our things on so that we can be standing by the door at 8:10, right? So yeah, you're going to figure out kind of what works for you, and what works is going to change, and it's going to change. It might even change throughout this single year. So you're just going to have to adjust as needed, but you're not going to be adjusting like major things after you kind of get into a routine. You're just going to be tweaking it at some point. But it might be like a big overhaul to begin with here if you've never had any kind of morning routine. But yeah, once you kind of get into things, you're going to be like, okay, we got to do this in a different order. We got to meet a little bit earlier at our meeting spot because we are still running late, whatever. We might have to wake up a little bit earlier. We're gonna work it, or maybe even later. Maybe you're like, I gave myself way too much time. The kids are just bored and reading on the couch for like 30 minutes. Like this is way too long. Or I've got sick of them and I let them put a show on, which is not a good way to start your day. Highly do not do that. It's just don't start the day with screens. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say about that. All right, but anyway, so you're gonna figure it out for your own family, and it's all gonna work out just fine. Okay, just thinking through some of these things is going to really help you out, though, in the first couple weeks of school, and then you're going to be able to tweak things as needed throughout the year, and then things are going to change every year, but you're going to kind of always go back to like, these are the thoughts that I'm thinking, these are kind of what we need to consider, and let's rework X, Y, Z, but these things are working, these things aren't, whatever. You're gonna figure it out. Okay, that's about it. Now I'm just rambling, so that's all. Drink water, eat snacks, everybody. Talk next time.